For good evening and welcome to another Shop Talk, hosted by myself, Dave Christie from Take on Goliath, and I am co-hosted this evening by Ruth. Ruth, would you like to introduce yourself quickly?
Yes, I'm Ruth Hawthorn, the Managing Director for Natural Trade Brokers. So we are a sales broker team. We have two teams on the road, and our sort of responsibility is working with suppliers and taking product to show the retailers ingredients, show and tell, try the products, and offer you promotional support to sell the products onto the consumer.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Ruth and I are both partners of Health Store UK. We feel it is vital to have that connection, not just with the brands, but also with the stores to bring everybody closer together and ensure that we're all working in partnership to drive our wonderful channel forward, as well as potentially challenge people within it to look at things in a different way, with a different perspective, and hopefully we'll go through some of those things today as well. This evening, we're talking about the supporting with distributors or brokers, how to get the most out of those partnerships. Do you have them currently? Do you use them currently? It is interactive. The more that you guys get out of put into this, the more you get out of it as well. As we were just saying before we started recording, Ruth and I can waffle on for the whole time if necessary, but it's much more poignant and beneficial for everybody to get involved and ask some questions as well. We've got some fantastic store owners and distributors and brokers on this call as well, so we can utilize and share knowledge. And what works well within these sessions is when stores share what they're doing and how they're working together, because we're not in silos, which this is one of the benefits of being part of the association as well. So Ruth, I'm going to come to you first. You have already engaged with a couple of members on the call because your team have been out. Explain from your side and from you having feet on the street and going in to visit stores, what you find is the best way to utilize your services and the
Yeah.
services of people that come into your stores.
Okay, so we work on behalf of many suppliers who really cannot afford their own sales team. So they employ us to take their products to market to show it to yourself. It can either be new products, new supplier, an extension of the range. And we visit the stores, we make appointments, we go and we present all the promotions and offers that mainly go through your wholesaler. So in fact, working with us, you can actually get your wholesaler discount, your opportunity to buy and get free stock, which will give you extra margin. If you work with a distributor, like for example, Cress, and I use that because he's a distributor here in the UK, because they actually have about 10, 12 brands, you can actually work with all those brands, but just do top-up orders at a lower value than maybe a wholesaler, minimum order. And what we try to do is we take a show and tell bag in, and that bag is full of all our new products and products for you to have a look at. So you can have a look at the label, you can look at the ingredients, the product size, you can try the product. And often the team will leave some samples for all of your staff to try. So when you look at the wholesaler book, it is massive. We all know that. And sometimes you don't have time to find out what that looks like or what's the ingredients. So we're the sort of stepping stone to support the suppliers, but also the wholesalers. So we, as you say, process those orders. We can, I can carry on. Then we take the orders, we go back to our good old cars, and we bring in all your stock. So there's your extra margin. And that stock mainly is for you to put on the shelf. But then some of our suppliers will give CDUs, they will give sample sachets, Bouger have sampling kits. So we can expose you to all of the opportunities. Plus, for example, Fair Trade's coming out. So Clipper is doing amazing point of sale. So again, you can use our sales team to get that point of sale, to build your windows, to get involved with that event.
I think that's a good overview, Ruth. We're going to come on to some questions shortly in a bit. I think from a field sales perspective and going into stores, that's something that's really useful for people to understand, is that we have that the field sales teams that are out there have that unique engagement with the brand. They are an extension of the brand that can come into store. You can talk to them, you can engage with them with samples, and you can speak to them a little bit more around how you can do more bespoke stuff in your stores as well. Yeah. And also understand how that you can pass that on to your customer and any potential new customer. Over the last few months, we've talked about shop window displays. We've talked about how to create point of sale that work really well for enticing new customers as well as existing and additional basket spend on in stores. And this gives you that real uniqueness where the wholesaler doesn't, is that you get your normal stock from the wholesaler, but now you've got a contact point with the brand itself. They're an extension of the brand itself.
I mean, for example, we have about 4 or 5 suppliers that are very happy to offer bulk offers, and this is where you can really engage a much richer deal to actually do consumer activity. And one of the opportunities is that there are promotions in the supermarkets, there's promotions in Holland and Barrett, there's promotions in many places, but if you engage with brands that want to push consumer promotions, and you can get the price really down to a competitive level, that gives you another opportunity to work with your salesperson to build that business.
And then obviously once you've got the field sales, I'm going to go through the different options that are there and what they kind of mean, because I know there's been some questions that are coming around. What is a distributor, a broker, a field sales? What's the difference with that and a wholesaler, etc.? So you've also obviously got your normal wholesaler where you're placing your normal orders from. You'll get the catalogue through them. They may phone you up from time to time. You may get a visit from some of them, but they've already got a preset agenda, which is derivative from them. They're looking after themselves, obviously, and they're trying to drive and grow what's in their interest at the time. So you get that more independent feel from someone coming into the store that can talk to you about a different set of brands and what's right for you in your store. And more importantly than all of that, and I think more importantly than any of the field sales teams, the distributors and brokers coming in and telling you what they have, the more important thing is they can listen to what you want. They can understand what you want. They can understand your store. They understand your customer base, so that they're not pushing product to you that won't sell because they just want to get a product in. They want that product off the shelf as quickly as you do, because the more they can support you to do that, the more the brand's going to grow, the more the business is going to grow. So they can actually listen to you, whereas that's the slight difference with some of the other options that are there as well. No different to a distributor. Now, we have several distributors across the UK. I think there's one on the call with us this evening. And they will potentially have similar brands that are in the wholesalers, or normally what they have is an exclusive range of products that you don't find in the wholesalers. They might work from an exclusive perspective. So that gives you a separate option to start thinking about how you can differentiate yourself from other competitors that are around, potentially looking at different competition that's there to see what products they have, what brands they in, and do you want those same products, or do you want to offer a consumer something different and a different perspective as well? They will still come with offers and deals. They probably won't be as necessarily as forthcoming as walking in off the street. Some of them are, and you'll probably get more calls and emails from those particular distributors as well. And they absolutely offer something that normally isn't in that wholesale in a real unique, different point. So actually, when you're thinking about what can I offer that's different or that others haven't got, a distributor normally has those type of products because they've got them exclusively within the UK, sometimes because they're overseas, and sometimes if they're smaller and they're growing, they have the exclusive rights to distribute as well. And then you have brokers, and brokers are similar to what myself do at Take on Goliath. We act as part of the brand, so we in essence speak on behalf of the brand themselves. We don't have necessarily feet on the street, but we have an ongoing relationship with stores, with the wholesalers, with the distributors, with field sales teams, and can work on behalf of those brands when the brands haven't perhaps quite got the budget to bring in full-time staff. Perhaps they're fantastic as they normally are at bringing out great product, but don't know how to support that listing commercially. They utilize a broker to help be their voice, their eyes, their ears, and utilize their experience as well. Now, they may work with distributors, they may work with wholesalers, and they may work with field sales. And they also give you a unique perspective and can speak on behalf of the brand and allow you to get that step closer to them as well. The one thing I want to reiterate across all of this is, and one of the great things about what Ruth and I and others do as well, is that we look at it from two sides. Whereas a brand will look at it from a brand side, talking to you as the stores will look at you, what brands to bring in. We look at and hear both sides and can really try and combine the two. On one side, I hear stores talk to us consistently about increasing sales, getting in new customers, trying to drive footfall, offers, promotions that they can do to entice sales. And brands, on the other hand, are desperate to engage with shops that will give them a chance, that will put a display on for them, that will list some of their products, that will pass on some of their promotions, allow them to come in and sample. So while there is still that disconnect, we are in that unique position to try and marry up those wishes, those desires, and those kind of asks with the right parties to make sure, again, as we said, that we listen to both sides and can produce the right options for you as a business. Before we move on, and I can't see everybody on my screen, is there any questions about anything that we've just come there to set the scene with? No. Delightful. Can I ask everybody, just by a little show of hands while I flick through the screen, do we all get visited or have distributors or utilise anybody in any way, shape or way? And can anybody give me an example of how and what they do in their store and how that's worked?
I get Howard coming into Open Sesame over in Ireland. Sorry, Leroy here in Open Sesame in Ireland. Yeah, we'd get something like the Clipper stuff, all right, which he'd come in and let us know there's a deal going on. A lot of the time he might give the free stock first and then the rest comes from the distributor. So then you can be kind of confident that you did get the free stock, if you know what I mean, which is good.
Yeah. Good old Howard doesn't owe any stock anymore.
I think that's an important thing for stores as well, is they know you're going to get the stock as well. I think sometimes there's been too many broken promises in the past from both sides, and I think there's a real caution.
Yeah, you don't want to have to definitely go through every invoice that you've got to make sure that the free stock has come in. You want to be confident that you've gotten that coming in. Yeah.
I mean, just to give you a point there, Dave, in Ireland, because of Brexit, and it's very difficult to get stock to Howard to use as free stock. We've set up a very good relationship with both Irish Independent and the Whole Food Wholesale, where they deliver the stock and then they do a claim back with the supplier. And that's worked really well and very effective. So actually place your order, stock goes together, and that works well. Here in the UK, all of our sales team have a lockup, which is full of stock, point of sale, everything that the supplier wants us to have. So hopefully, sometimes we get it wrong where we've had a really big order and we're a bit short, but my team will always make sure that within a week or so you'll get that stock. And I think that's the point, that you can then, and that's your extra margin. That stock is all extra margin. And that is what I think for some retailers, I know you think, oh, here's a rep coming in. Hopefully my team make appointments, so they're coming in. They do sometimes take time, but that when they come back, they'll be bringing you, 10 different lines. Sometimes we be like a pack calls when we come back, but that's what you've earned from doing a 3+1 or a 2+1. And then you can have that stock instantly on your shelf, starting to sell it while you're waiting for your order.
I mean, that's the important part as well, isn't it? It's about understanding that the need is now. There is a speed of urgency here, and actually, if that's going to happen, you want to get that support straight away. Justina, you had your hand up. I'm sorry, I've just seen you lean back. Apologies.
Yeah, I was getting relaxed. Well, Victoria, who is down there, hi Victoria, who is my manager at the shop, has been doing fantastic things with sampling of new companies. And a couple of examples for you. One for you, because I know you represent them, is the Hallow supplement line. She came down, the owner did some sampling in the shop, left us a lot of stock, and we're selling it really well. So we've taken on that line, and to get us to have taken on a new line of supplements is it's a miracle, really, to be honest. Headsguard Cooper, who I don't know if you guys represent them, but again, they sent us a load of samples. we had some fun sampling with dogs. You know, we did a whole sort of social thing on it. It was fun. And if the dog liked a treat, well, the parents bought the goods. So we try and do a new product every couple of weeks as a tasting, as a sampler. And yeah, our business has been steadily increasing this year. Nothing to do with me, down to Victoria.
I mean, I think that's excellent, and it's one of, I think one of the things would be really good in store is to have like a new area. And if you buy from your wholesalers, you can buy 1 or 2 lines, and it's new this month, like you've done there, Justina and Victoria, where you can just buy 2 or 3 samples of a product from the wholesaler, put it new, allow your consumers to see what's going on, and they think, oh, this is new, I'll buy that. And then you haven't taken a risk, but you've introduced new lines into your shop. And I think it's the consumers always looking, aren't they, for something new to try, to taste, to eat. And if you can engage them with just that little promotion, that sampling, as you do with the dogs, which I think is fantastic, it's a great fun thing, it actually then gives you confidence to list the product because you've had the opportunity to do the tasting with it.
Yeah. And also the other thing that we do out of politeness is if we are sent samples, we will set them up that if they sell off the shelf, that they will automatically be reordered in from our wholesaler, because that's a polite thing to do, and as a thank you. And the whole point is that they want to be in our store. And then if they don't sell, then that's it.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think there's a couple of important things just to dwell on there, and I'm going to get some people's opinions on it as well, because you mentioned something about if things sell, then you'll put them on shelf, and it's risky, right? Bringing in new product, bringing in new stock, bringing in things onto a shelf that you might not know doesn't sell when you've only got X amount of money in the till at the end of the week to go and place your order. That's a big risk to a business, because every cent and every pound and every order is important. So this also gives you those opportunities, as we said, to engage with those brands that are willing to do and help and support in different ways. Maybe it's through samples, maybe it's just sending samples to the store, or promotions, or social media support, that they run competitions, whatever that is that you can speak to the field sales rep, the person on the phone, the reply to the email, the samples that you sent, etc. As well as, I don't necessarily condone sending unsolicited samples into stores. I think that can be potentially a bit more annoying than pleasant for a lot of people, and slightly wasteful. I'll get some opinion on that in a minute as well. It's always about trialing things. Debbie, I can see you on the call. You're not going to get away with it. I look at what you do on your social media and how you engage with that as well. How do you utilize the brands and what they offer to decide what you will and won't work in store?
So we make appointments with reps. Reps come in, and I try to get as many of my team members involved in that conversation as I can. We have Sam from Time that comes to visit us, and he laughs about the amount of team members we get in on the days that he's in, because I know that if my team get behind a brand, then I'm going to sell more of it. If the team have trialed the food, then I'm going to sell more of it. So that's one of the main things we do, is like we spread out the testers amongst us. If it's stuff to take home, I make sure that my team take it home and then give me feedback on it. And if they like it, then we get it in. Sometimes we get them in from our bigger wholesale. So like you said, it might be just getting a couple in and seeing how they go before being able to order the bigger ones. But also speaking to the companies. So we mentioned Hello Wellness, which I know Dave introduced us to a few months ago. That's going really well for us in the store now, because we met with them. She came out to the store for us. She's done staff training. We've sent out samples, and where we've just started doing markets within our little town, all of that is done through suppliers. I'm going to suppliers saying, this is what I'm doing, what can you give me? And they're giving me goodie bags to give out. Hello Wellness again has supplied me with another load of samples to give out. London Nootropics were fantastic. They gave me a load of free coffee. So anybody that walked past my stall, I could say, have a free coffee on us, and pour them a coffee. go. And that cost me £35 a month to do that stall. It's a lot of hard work. The stall itself today, I think, made £80. So I'm not making the money from the stall, but I had an extra 170 people in my store today. I made an extra £1,100 extra to what I would normally make from that £35 that I'm spending. And like I said, the suppliers are supplying that store with stuff to give away. So definitely engage with your suppliers, talk to them. They want to help you. They want you to sell their stuff. And the more you say, you know, this is what I want, they're more than happy to do that.
I mean, Wild Oats down in Bristol, they do a coffee morning when the yoga ladies are about. They engage with the hospital and do events with that. And I think it is the way, you know, to get the suppliers to support you more. Debbie, may I ask? I should know this. Where's your store?
My store's in Wadebridge in Cornwall. I'm Elixir Health.
Ah, right. Okay, super. Because I shall get, if you want, I shall get one of my reps, Mandy, to come down and offer you some support as well.
That'd be fantastic.
Okay, perfect.
I think just going on to the point, Debbie, that Debbie was making as well, there's something really important there about the one thing that we tend not to do as much, and that's ask. I think that we tend to come in and people will listen to us or they'll talk to us. And the main thing with these opportunities, these are all touch points to ask that question. Brands are very, very keen to, you know, I know from sides, they want to work with more people like Debbie. They're more willing to give product to people, to samples to people, to help you, to help them. It's a win-win for everybody. If you're working on that stall and you're utilizing their samples, then and you get those people in the store, you win, and the brand wins because they're getting the exposure as well. And if you are social media as smart as Debbie is, they're also getting some exposure on social media and a wider reach and engagement at the same time as well, so that everybody wins. But the brands have got those samples available to them. They do want people to try their products and get things into people's hands, and you have touch points through distributors, through the reps, through field sales, through brokers to reach out to those people. Ruth's in a very similar position. I know a lot of the others are as well. For me, there's a Take on Goliath promise. I don't take on a brand unless they're willing to support independent retail, and they're willing to support with social media. They're willing to support with competition prizes, with sampling events, with anything that they can possibly do and ask for. There is no limit. And they have to sign up to that to work with us, because that's imperative for them to drive and grow the brand. And also, let's be honest, to win the hearts and minds of you. You know, we've seen too many brands come and go that have promised the world and delivered nothing and left us with a shop full of products and then gone into Holland and Barrett, right? That's no good for anybody, and it's no good for us as a sector. The brands that we have don't do that. The brands that you have can ask that question and can support that independent channel differently. So thank you for sharing that, Debbie. I appreciate that. Is there anyone else that has any positive experience of how they've utilised working with anybody that coming into their store or distributors or in that respect? Well, I just did a whole world.
I can give a positive example. We had a 40th birthday anniversary last year. And Adele kindly rallied round with other brands. Adele from Natural Trade Brokers.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Yeah, and you know, gave us loads of samples to put in goodie bags. And that was just from asking the question. You feel a bit rude, a bit greedy, because you want to give out quite a lot of stuff, but it was lovely.
Yeah, Tracy, not something like that. I mean, we have such a good relationship with most of our suppliers that we do that sort of blanket email to say this event's happening, that's event, and then we put the two together. We've just done one for Banstead. We'll support where we can, and most of the suppliers will find, you know, they have sample sachets. Maybe they might have a bit of short dated stock they want to get out, you know, bars, things like that. And they will always support to the best of their the ability to actually support that event. And if you can give a great mixed bag like Wimbledon, where we've got some fantastic recipe books, put them in, get people to then come back to do some link selling and make a recipe out of all the products in your store. So I think, you know, do ask, you know, Time Marketing, ask, you know, at Crest, or the other wholesalers are about that can support you.
The interesting thing, Tracy, that you just touched on there, and it's something that I hear often, I don't want to ask. I don't feel like I can ask. I don't feel like I can. That's what everyone's here for. You know, we're here to drive it. A lot of the brands have budget. A lot of the brands know that they need to support to engage, and actually, they would be made up if any of the brands that I know that I work with, and I'm sure others do too, if they got an email from a shop that said, we'd love to do a bespoke event with you, would you like to supply us this, and we're going to send it out to this, they would be made up. It would make their absolute day, because that's literally what they're trying to do. They're trying to build their brand one store at a time. You know, a lot of people, from a brand perspective, they go into a wholesaler, they get a little bit lost. They think, great, we're in a wholesaler, we're kind of brilliant. It's not. That's the easy bit, and it's not even that easy.
No, it's not.
That the hard bit is to get it out the wholesaler and into you. The hardest bit still is getting it out of you and into the consumer, and that's where you guys come in and you help each other and create that kind of partnership. That then actually you work together to drive that sales, and that you're not left behind with stock. They're not left without a shop, and actually there's so much to be gained by asking. And I think the real difficulty sometimes for shops and for small businesses and brands is, how do I contact them? You must get an untold amount of emails on a daily basis. So, and you get lots of people like me and Ruth and other people, solicited or unsolicited, consistently. So actually it's about understanding, going to things like the NHT Summit, speaking with people directly, building that relationship and building that trust, so that when someone comes in and says, Debbie and I have worked and spoken to each other numerous amounts of times, to the point where I can kind of say, well, actually, Debbie, this brand will work fantastically for you. And she'll go, brilliant, bring it in and let's see how we go. There's no risk. There's not to that at all. But I know the brands that will and won't work. Now, I won't make decisions for Debbie, because nobody does that other than Debbie. And same for stores. I won't make that decision. I'll say, here's some other stuff. But then I can proactively do that and engage. And then people can learn and drive, again, one store at a time. There's no different to the field sales teams. They're going in and talking, but they'll get to know you. They get to know what you want. And the more you ask, the more they understand you, the more they can offer the right thing and bespoke thing for you. So if you're looking for, you've got an event coming up at the end of the year, if you want a Christmas goodie bag for your customers, if you want to just do a random giveaway on the last hot Saturday of the year, ask, because 9 times out of 10, somebody will give. Ruth.
I think also, Dave, the other thing about working with distributors and brands is that if you put a promotional plan for 6 months and you want to build in themes, or you want to do product ingredients, if you work with those salespeople, they can go, okay, well, I know that we've got X coming here for March and we've got this in August. So you can actually start building a promotional plan. And we work with quite a few of our retailers that say, right, this is my plan for the year. And we'll go, okay, well, it's gluten-free, we've got this product here. If it's keto, we've got that product there. So, you know, you can use the salespeople to get more out of them in saying, right, I want to book this. You know, we want to book windows, so you can get prizes with windows and be supported. So I think it's the way of, you know, using the salesperson to your advantage.
Oh, absolutely. And I think on that themed window piece, it's around the opportunity, and I would always advise monthly window changes. When we see them in stores, they work really well. It might feel like a lot of hard work and effort, but it actually does absolutely pay off. And again, utilising the stores for the support on that as well. When I was at Faith in Nature, we actually paid for local artists to go and paint windows and draw window displays on for people. We even did a couple of refill vans and stuff, and the impact of that was huge. And that was only because a store came out and asked us and said, well, you want us to do a window support, can you come and do one for us? And we said, sure, but we want to support your local community. How can we do that? And that's what we came up with, and we did it around 20 odd stores.
So can I just pick up on something that Ruth said there about having the planner? That is key for us. We sit down in December every year and we plan out what topic we're going to talk about each month. And then that is then used for our window displays. That's used for our staff training. That's also used for when we have the reps that are coming with us, regardless of who the reps are. They can be a supplement company, or they can be somebody like yourself, Ruth, from National Trade Brokers. It doesn't matter. We sit with them and we say, right, okay, this is our topic for this month. What can you do for us? And they literally, whatever I ask for, they will do their best to help me. Or they'll guide me and say, look, we can't do menopause for you on this month, but we are doing a big promotion on it in March or October or whatever. So then I can change my plan to suit the deals that those different suppliers are doing. So just taking that day, and it does take time and it does take a bit of thinking, but just taking that day in either November or December to plan out my year, that really helps me. The following year, I don't have to think about what's happening in July. My team don't have to keep saying to me, what are we doing this month? What are the promotions? They can just go to the plan, see, okay, July is menopause. What have we got for the menopause?
I think also picking up from that, Debbie, that if somebody comes and sees you and said, oh, we're launching a new keto brand, and you've decided that you're going to do keto in August or whatever, and they come and see you in March, you can always say to the rep, look, I'll take some now, but if I want to do a big promotion, can we book it in? Yes, we can. Then we go to the supplier and say, we'd like, we need a promotion, we need some support, and how can we do this? And I think if more people sat and planned, their lives would be so much better, like you said, Debbie, because, all right, it's a bit of a ache to do it on the day, but once it's done, you make the plan, you work the plan. Exactly. And I think what also happens there is that if you build a good relationship with your salesperson, like you said, Sam, he can go and look at the plan and he can sort of say, well, I can support that, and that. And it's a little different with the broker world because we all lose brands or they come and go, and Dave knows that as well. But your solid brands, the ones that also can support, the Clipper will always do fair trade and Windmill will always do organic. So you can sort of say, well, I can have that slot and that slot. So I think and when we MailChimp out the promotions, and we do it by MailChimp, we actually get quite a good hit rate. Again, as you say, Debbie, take 10 minutes just to look at it and go, right, I like that, let's do something with it. And we'll always try our hardest. And if you use, a broker or a distributor, they're always going to have stock that you can cut up and try and taste. Because that's what you need to do, is expose your consumers more to touch it, feel it, look at it, and all the rest of it.
And that's where there's a bit more rigidity with the wholesalers. So as an example, I've just signed off promotions for March. So the magazines for March next year have been done. So they're done for the brands. There's nothing you can do about that now. They're set in stone. So, and that means that, and the example I give, whether people like the example I give or not, is a different matter. But I give the example of Jeremy Clarkson. The reason why I do that is because when he put Lion's Mane on telly on the Clarkson farm, we saw a rise in demand all across the region, all across the channel. And the brands that reached out and said, Dave, do you have a Lion's Mane brand? At the time, I didn't. But I went, bear with me. I made a few phone calls. We found somebody and they put it in their shop windows, created big mushroom themes and really took advantage of it. You can't do that with a wholesaler. You can with a distributor. You can with a field sales. You can with a broker. And that is the magic. And that's the relationship, to just pick up the phone and be able to go, I need this. Do you know anybody? Because if you don't know anybody as a store, we will probably know someone. If we don't know them directly, we'll know them indirectly. We know people that we trust.
Yeah, it's interesting, Dave, following in. I mean, you can't say the word, but as you know, you probably heard last week, Manuka Honey had some amazing press last week. Unbelievable press. And it was all about breast cancer. And there were 2 articles. And we did a MailChimp out, and we said to our honey people, you got to jump onto this, you got to get onto this. And, no disrespect, but every retailer should have had Manuka Honey in their window, right? So as you walk past, they go, that's a Sun article, there's the Manuka Honey, let me go in and talk about it. Now, again, you can't say the word, but those people that are coming in would have read the article and want to buy the product. And and I think we as a trade need to be, and you guys are because you're here tonight, but more of us need to be more proactive to go, let's see what else we can do to stimulate that consumer to come in and to put, 2 or 3 pots of Manuka honey in a good visual place, and it makes people stop. They will come in because they've read this article, and it was an amazing article.
Yeah, it goes back to the point when we had a couple of months ago when we talked about the shop windows. The shop windows are when I talk to people think that the shop windows are for their customers, and they're not for their customers at all. The customers are coming in. For passing trade, it's a billboard, it's a shop window. I went down, and I do quite a few of these now. I go and do walkthroughs of stores and walk it through as a customer and what a customer might see and make changes. I did it recently with Cheryl over at Sheaf Street, and we had 7 different changes that we made within the store. And Cheryl knows a thing or two. She's written a book on it, but actually being able to see it from a different perspective enabled her to see what a potential new customer would see. And that enabled her to make changes that attracted and spoke to that new customer. So, as an example, there was stuff in the shop window that we would know about from an ingredients perspective, and she was talking about ashwagandha as an example in the window. The passerby has no clue what that is, but they do know what stress and anxiety is. They do know what cortisol levels are. They do know what a cold is, but they might not know what immunity really means. So it's around understanding and utilising some of those areas, and that's where the brands come in handy again. It's because they can humanise it a little bit and attract some of them, help you attract some of those new customers in store through windows, through offers that talk to that retailer. A poster on the window of the outside of the store saying, "Are you suffering from got pain? Come and talk to us about it," or starting to get sniffles, come and talk to us about it, or whatever that might be. That it needs to resonate with that person walking by. And a lot of those brands will do bespoke offers, bespoke posters. They'll put your logos on them. They'll do all sorts of stuff to work and support you as well. Ruth.
Sorry, Dave, Ruth, can I just interject with something? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
So I'm a distributor, and one of the things that I really notice is, obviously just wanted to reiterate what you guys are saying about brands being desperate, sort of, wanting to provide sampling and support to stores. And I'm bringing in other brands, so that I just want to say there's like a really long time frame quite often. So we've got to send the message back to the brand, and then the brand has got to talk to their, the right people, their marketing department, etc. And you're often talking about like a kind of 6-month lead time to make some sort of sample. And so the more information that we can get from stores about what you guys want, the better kind of product and sampling and support we can provide.
Good.
Yeah, I think that's really important as well. And I think that the secondary part to that is we have to remember that the brands have got to pay for this, so they will want to work, and they're not just going to give it away for no reason. Some do, but the majority of the time they want to do it for a structured campaign, so that they're doing things in advance. Like Emma just spoke around there. When we're looking at now, we might be looking at putting sampling in place for April next year, and it gives time. Going back to what Debbie said about structuring the plan. Think about how that works. The wholesalers structure their plans. Brands will have a brand plan for the year of activation of what they want to offer, where and when. And the feedback from you guys helps determine what that might look like at the same time. Because nobody's perfect and nobody gets it right. And we all do what we think is best and right at the time. But actually, every brand, every retailer is open to that change and understanding what that change is and how that can impact an entire brand's destiny. I'm going to use the Hello Wellness example as a point, is that they launched with pouches. They launched with 60 tablet pouches, and they were ecstatic over it. They thought it was the best thing possible. They were biodegradable. It was a great price, blah, blah, blah. Within 10 minutes of launching, they realised they'd made a mistake. They realised the pack was too wide because of the feedback they got. The feedback from the stores that spoke to them, engaged with them at the National Health Trade Summit, and said, that's too wide, it won't fit on the shelf, and how will I do so? And they hadn't thought about that because that's not something they'd had to. And they went away and produced a 100% plant-free pot. Now, they listened to people and they made that change, and that's a brand that's impacted and actually made a huge investment to change based off of your feedback. They're only in, and there's a lot of brands that are only in this channel. They only want to work with you guys, and the more information is coming back to what Tracy was saying about feedback and asking. Actually, ask, but also give people suggestions. It would be great. Could you do this and this? Can you do this flavor? Could you do this? We're seeing a lot of this. All that kind of stuff is that two-way relationship that then builds and grows together so that you can drive and support each other moving forward. Anyone got any more thoughts or comments on that before we move on?
Just to add to what you're saying, we found it in Health Stores Ireland as well that retailers need to know that they can ask. You know, it kind of goes both ways, that it needs to be communicated to them that their opinion matters. And obviously, when I say it goes both ways, like a retailer needs to come with a plan, like Debbie there, who we've all been learning from, I think, this whole call. Like, you need to be able to come to a brand or a supplier with a plan, and then see if they'll do what you're asking for. But it also needs to be communicated from them to the retailer that, yeah, we're open to any suggestions. You know, I think that's an important point as well.
So can I just ask you a question back on that? Just from your perspective, and maybe somebody else's. That's a really great point. I absolutely, totally agree with that. How do they go about doing that? Because a lot of the time, you guys are getting so many emails, stores are getting so many emails, they're busy, you've got customers, you've got events like this, you've got a life to live. I think some of us have still got one of those. And there's so much going on that sometimes we don't see the message from the retailer. So is that engaging at trade shows? Is that sending emails? Is that coming into stores? What, from your perspective, has been what do you see the most? How's the best way to communicate that message?
I suppose reps and brokers, but I'll leave that to others to suggest as well.
I think also, I mean, the advantage is that in September, Whole Foods Wholesale are having their trade show, their open day, and that's really going to be a real good opportunity for the Irish retailers to go with their plans and walk around and talk to, because when you're on a stand, you want to engage with retailers to go, can I have this? Can I have that? Can we do this together? And that's what the suppliers want. I mean, I did the one where we were in just outside Shannon. It was the Irish Association event, really well attended. And there were some great shop talks and things and discussions. But also, I was there with Howard, and it was, come and tell us what you want. So I think the Bristol show, I think, is a brilliant opportunity again for, and because it's much smaller than natural products, you can walk around once, decide, have a look, then you can do a couple of talks with Dave and other people, then you can go round again, and it gives you time at these smaller shows and these tabletops to actually spend time with your suppliers and say, can I do this and can I do that? And I think they're the more opportunities for everybody to get more out of it, for the supplier, but also for you as retailers.
Yeah, I mean, I'd echo kind of what you said there. I think the trade shows and the NHTs and stuff are really good opportunities to engage with them as well.
Yeah. I'm
coming back to Debbie because I know a little bit more about Debbie than the others. So apologies if anybody else wants to give examples, then please do. But I spoke to Debbie for a period of time at NOPEX this year, and you were on a mission. You knew you'd been through the lists. You knew the brands you wanted to speak to. You had appointments with some of the brands you wanted to speak to because you knew you wanted to engage with them and build those relationships. And I believe that bared quite good fruit for you.
Yeah, NOPEX is massive for us. We always go down and try to do the 2 days. The first day is definitely walking around, seeing what's about, seeing what sparks our interest. And then day 2 is when we go and have our conversation. So at the end of day 1, we sit down there and it's planning, isn't it? We sit and we go through all of the leaflets that we've been given. We go through the booklet and decide, right, okay, these are the things that sparked our interest. but we also go along to these shows with a list of things that we're interested in. So we're listening to what our customers are saying to us. If they're, you know, talking to us about mushrooms, it's like, right, okay, we need to find mushroom providers. And so we knew that when we went to Note that that's what we were particularly looking for, as well as other things. But it's about having that in mind, what I want to see, and then be open-minded when you're there to see what other people are talking about.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the good thing, isn't it? When you go to any exhibition, you have the exhibitors list before you go, so you can do your sort of tick off list, can't you? And they can be your priority, and then if you see something else as you go along, and that's what you can do at Bristol, is actually tick off those ones, and actually, even ring the suppliers up and go, look, I'm coming to Bristol, can I come and see you at 10 o'clock to discuss something? So, again, the suppliers will really want to engage. What are you laughing at, Dave?
I think any brand would fall off their chair if a store phoned up and said, can I come and see you?
No, but that's I know, and they would be so excited that they got an appointment at 10 o'clock to meet Debbie to go through a plan. And I think, from the retailer point of view, if you want to be a bit more pushy, they would love all of that, because then they get, they'll get their act together to support you.
I think just on that as well, just to bring that back round and kind of close this out a little bit as well, and come to any questions. The broker, the distributor, have Emma, we've got Ruth, myself, we've mentioned several others that are there as well. They're your link to the brand outside of those trade show times. Bristol might not be the right place for you to get to. You might not want to wait until Manchester. You might not better get to NOPEX. Well, actually, these are mini trade shows coming to your door, coming through your inbox and picking up that phone to you. So making sure that you find ones that are reputable, that have got your best interest at heart, and that are talking to you about what you need rather than just telling you what they want you to have. And building those relationships is really key and valuable. And that is your conduit all year round to be able to help and support you. As we said, Ruth and I know each other. Ruth knows lots of other different people, and we have lots of relationships. So between our network, we're here to support you guys. Fundamentally, we don't exist without you. None of us do. So it's imperatively important that, one, we keep you happy. Two, we do what we say we're going to do, and we build those relationships and build that trust, because without you, we don't have a business, and those brands don't have a voice. So it's vitally important, and you really need to think about how you can engage us, all of us, more. You don't want to. Yes, it might seem daunting to think about, how do I put a 12-month plan together? Don't do 6. Take it one step. Just do next month. If you're not doing anything, do next month. Don't go all the way out to 12 months. Just do next month, and then see how that goes. And then maybe do to the end of the year. And then maybe in October, start thinking about January, because that's a big month. And just do small bite-sized chunks and build it. And maybe you don't need to speak to every distributor. You might have one, or someone that keeps pestering you, or someone that you think, oh, I keep getting their stuff. I keep meaning to speak to them. Just pick one. Build that. Start somewhere. It doesn't have to be daunting. It doesn't have to take up loads of time, and it can, as well as we said, we've been learning from Debbie as an example. Also, Debbie's been doing this for a long time, and I'll be open and honest with you, and she won't mind me saying this. She's also made a lot of mistakes along the way, wasted a lot of time along the way, and has found her path and the right thing that works for her and her store. So we're all going to do that, but actually, we all have to start somewhere. And I would say that actually utilising and working alongside distributors, field sales, brokers, makes your life a lot easier and can help you mitigate some of those minefields that might be out there as well. I just want to finish them with anyone got any questions while we're here? There's a couple of quick fire questions just before we round it all off. If anyone has, now is the time to speak.
Tracy, can I just ask, has that helped you with your first point that you said you wanted to utilise more salespeople coming in? Has that given you some ideas about that today?
Yeah, definitely.
Good.
And part of it's, my own organisation. So yeah, like doing the planning. And sometimes, you start off, don't you, doing something, and then other stuff gets in the way. Staff are ill, staff are on holiday.
My plan changes all the time, Tracy. So I might sit down and do a plan, and that plan might look the best ever, but then, like today, I had 3 members of staff off today. So the plan has to be flexible and has to change. It's just about making that start.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it has been really helpful. Yeah.
Good.
Any other questions at all?
Alan.
Can I just make an observation and put a question to you as well? Thankfully, I don't have to negotiate on behalf of retailers for offers and discounts, but I have noticed over the years, we do run a members discount scheme, that some brands and some suppliers get quite resistant to retailers using offers to increase margin, in that they almost take it as offensive to their brand. Now we do, as part of our scheme, we do encourage retailers, say, to do part consumer offer and then part margin increase. But do you find with the brands that you deal with, your guys you're like myself and Avril, you're in the middle between retailers and suppliers and brand owners. Do you find that some brands don't understand that margin is crucial and profit is necessary for retailers, and that the offers sometimes do need to be used in a way that increases profit and margin for retailers, as well as increasing the sales of that brand for the brand holder?
I love that question, Alan, actually, and I think it's something that comes up time and time again, because margin is obviously really important. From that brand side, the simple answer is yes. From the brand side, brands will put an offer in. They're making their margin as well. They've got to give the wholesaler a margin, and obviously they've got to give you a margin to work as well. So that when they put say 15% on, their expectation is that you're going to pass it all on to the retailer, to the consumer, and you're going to drive that in. Now we know that, and there is a frustration from brands when that doesn't happen, but there's also for more seasoned people within the channel, there's also a complete understanding that doesn't necessarily happen at all, and that margin is important, and actually that is the lifeblood of what keeps some of the stores going from week to week and month to month. But I think there has to be a meet in the middle point. I think that there's again, it comes back to what Tracy was talking around, which is regard having that open conversation with people and actually saying, look, we want to pass that on. If we can pass up, we need this margin. Having that open conversation, and like you've just said, but with either us, and we can pass that on, because there is a collaboration to have, and there is an understanding from both sides to have. Some maybe they can't afford to give any extra margin. That might be the cost of their goods, might mean that they can only just about give away 10%. So yes, it's a real frustration because they can't support you any further in driving any kind of additional competition or any other margins to give off to the consumer. So for them, that's a real frustration. But for others, they might have a little bit of extra margin to play with. And maybe they can do something directly or indirectly with you in a different manner that allows a margin. And maybe they can work with you that says, well, okay, maybe you don't go through the wholesaler, maybe you come direct for a piece, or whatever it is, you come through Ruth or myself or a different way. So they can find ways. And I think unless we're having those open conversations, there's always going to be a little bit of disparity. So I just suggest openness and an openness in that conversation, because the way that you've just put it there, to be fair, is not a way that I've overly heard it before, but I do hear frustration from both sides.
I think there's a solution there where part of the offer term is consumer driven, and I think there's you guys will know better than I do, there's some science around how long a consumer offer should be, and it's not as long as people usually think it is. I think the supermarkets would have 3 to 6 days, perhaps a little bit longer in a specialist store, and then there should be a longer tail after that, where those extra sales that you've generated with a consumer offer builds margin, and everybody wins then. But I do hear some resistance from suppliers and brands when they think they're being used, but we know they're not, because retailers won't exist if they don't have the margins.
I think it's also, I think it's also like, I went to over to Dublin and went to where Health Matters are moved, and they had picked 8 products to promote, and I took a photo because it was one of the products that the brands we were working with, and then we sent that back, and the brand was absolutely delighted. We use a lot of WhatsApp, so we take a lot of photos, we probably got 30 WhatsApp working, but the suppliers that then see the benefit of the product, the promotion, the point of sale. So I think it's a work in progress. I think it's like, you know, if you're going to place an order and you're going to get that extra margin, but then occasionally you want to say, actually, I'll do a consumer promotion on it. So you can do twofold. You can keep some of the margin. And then I think as long as the supplier sees that somewhere in that sort of cycle, they're going to get a promotion and they're going to get their product put further forward than a competitor brand, I think then they will work with you.
I would go a step further and actually, Avril, I would probably make a note around actually doing some kind of shop talk on promotions, specifically because I think there's a gap there, and I think there's a knowledge gap and a knowledge sharing option there, an opportunity to work on that. So I appreciate that. I'll pick that up as a separate thing because I think there's a bit more time that needs to be spent on that as well. Justine, have you just taken yourself off mute to ask a question?
I do, because I've just got one question. As a committee member of the Health Stores UK, do you think it would be useful if on the website for members that there was all of those special offers were put through for that month, so that shop members could go to our website and look at those offers? It's just an idea I'm playing around with.
It's an interesting one, and it's something that's been mentioned a couple of times. I think logistically it would be quite labour intensive to collaborate all those kind of offers and put them under one place and keep them maintained. And I'm not sure the resource is there to do that.
But Dave, what you could do, sorry, just to interrupt there, but what you could do, Avril, is, you know, approach Time Marketing, approach Lime, approach us and say, look, give us just two key brands. And it could be, I don't know, Callow, Clipper, Bouger, whatever it is. And just have, you know, Justine, about 2 or 3 running. So it doesn't throw. And then they go, actually, I could capitalise on that and do something with that. So it might be a building block, Avril, for that.
Yeah.
Secondarily to that, Justine, I think there's an opportunity to link through
and also
emails.
Because we want more sponsors as well for obviously all the health stores association.
Yes.
So, yes. Anyway, just a thought.
I think some suppliers and small suppliers that really want to work with the independent health food trade probably, you're going to shoot me for saying this, probably don't know a lot about the benefits that they can get from working with you. So maybe it's a back to front where you do some sort of, you know, a flyer or MailChimp to suppliers to say, not the big ones, but some of these small ones in the middle, say, hey, you know, do you know about us? Can you join us? It might have to join at lesser fee, but if they're going to get some benefit out of it and be able to talk to you and communicate with you, then that might be an opportunity both ways.
I think it starts with key stores as well. If you can bring a list of key stores together that we can start building those relationships with as well.
I agree.
It grows it together. But yeah, let's pick that up offline, Justine. I think that's a good idea. Any final question for anybody else before we wrap this? No? Wonderful. Well, Ruth, thank you ever so much for sharing your knowledge and giving up your time. Thank you to everybody that's come on this evening as well, and everybody that has given and shared their feedback. I think that we cannot do this alone. So actually the sharing of knowledge and ideas together is a really special thing, and we can take a lot from it as well. So thank you for everybody that has done that. As Avril mentioned at the beginning, I hope to see everybody at the National Health Trade Summit on the 29th in Bristol. We will be there. Health Store UK will be there as well with a stand here to help and support. If you cannot make it, or you want any more information, or you think of something as you hang up and think, I wish I'd have said that, or maybe you quite have the confidence to do it on a group session as well, do drop us a message. We'll happily pick up with that outside of that as well and answer any questions that you have. And if there's nothing else, I'll wish everybody a good evening and speak to you all soon.
Good evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.